You cannot justify that, oh, she has a great life, why is she depressed? It doesn't work like that. You are
No.
either depressed or not. In any kind of depression for that matter, if you try to justify it, you've just completely defeated the whole purpose of the conversation.
Having a baby is exciting, but for some moms, it can trigger postpartum depression. What happens when something that's supposed to bring you joy leaves you anxious and depressed instead? How can new moms get through postpartum depression? And what can a loving partner do to help?
Love Matters with Evelyn Sharma.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Sharma, and you are listening to Love Matters, a podcast about relationship issues that matter to you and me. Today, we have an amazing guest, actress, writer, producer, and model Chhavi Mittal. After Chhavi's second child was born in 2019, she suffered from postpartum depression and shared her experience on social media. She also came up with some great tips for men who might not quite get it, but who do want to help the new mom in their life. Last year, Chhavi found out that she had breast cancer. And again, she talked about her treatment and healing journey on social media. Today, she's going to tell us all about how she was able to get through these tough times with the help of a whole lot of love. Welcome, Chhavi. It's so great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. I'm totally looking forward to having this chat with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear your story up close. Let's jump right into it. Tell us a bit about your journey of pregnancy and postpartum depression. How did that all happen for you?
It's interesting how you said that I shared about my postpartum depression after my second pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what people don't know is that I had an even worse postpartum depression during the first time, but I didn't talk about it. I didn't share it on social media. I didn't even share it with anybody in my close proximity for the simple reason that I wasn't aware.
A lot of people wouldn't even know what postpartum depression is. Maybe you can define that word for us first.
Yes, so even I was not aware that what I'm going through is called postpartum depression, and it's something which is more common than we know about. And I think it's probably because nobody likes to talk about it. And it's probably because when you're going through it as a mother, you don't want to believe that you're depressed.
Yeah.
You just feel that you're not being able to cope up with the responsibility that has suddenly come upon your shoulders, and somewhere down the line you start blaming yourself for not being a good mom just because it's too overwhelming for you. And I think it's the second time around when I actually spoke about it is when I realized a lot of people suffer from it, and it's okay to talk about it. So the first step, the first thing that helped me understand my postpartum depression was just the fact that I accepted it to myself and I spoke about it to the people who care for me, people who were around me at that point, especially my husband and my immediate family. And that is what made all the difference, I think.
Yeah. So, Chavi, let's start with what is postpartum depression? Like, how does it show itself? And how can a woman see that, oh, hey, I think I have postpartum depression and I should talk to my family or friends about that?
That's a very difficult question to answer, but I'm going to try. I think the mixed feelings that a mother gets, feelings of not being a good mom,
Hmm.
feelings of not being good enough for this job, the feeling that, oh, suddenly your life is over and there's no other time left for anything else, and suddenly feeling that now this is it. Now I'm just going to be a mother for the rest of my life and not who I am, not an individual. And, you start questioning yourself. Did I do the right thing?
Hmm.
Why is my baby crying so much? Is it because of something I'm not doing right? And you cry a lot and you don't want to tell anybody about the fact that you're crying and you're feeling this way because, again, it makes you feel really guilty for feeling this way. So, all these mixed emotions, these are just signs that you are depressed. You're suffering from postpartum depression. And the good thing about this is that it passes. You're also very hormonal at this point. There are lots of physical changes which are happening in the body. You're breastfeeding, you're in pain. A lot of times you have had a C-section, you've put on weight. there are a lot of things which are happening to a woman's body physically and to a woman emotionally. And all these factors contribute to the depression. And I think the most important thing is to talk about it and accept support from whoever's offering it. I remember the first time when I became a mother, I was not even accepting help from the nanny who I had hired to take care of the baby because I was
Hmm.
so possessive and I felt that no, this is my child and I cannot allow anybody to touch her. What if they break her? What if they hurt her? And I took so much responsibility on my shoulders. And I remember that time I was feeding at least 12 times in 24 hours, including night feeds, day feeds. And I was, becoming obsessive with studying her routine. What time is she peeing? What time is she hungry? How much is she drinking in every feed? How much is she sleeping? Making a routine for her. I just became so obsessed with it that I forgot about myself. And the next thing I know, I was just all the time cribbing, crying, and unhappy. And I think it took me about a year to get out of it, where I understood that this is not how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be enjoying this time.
So, besides taking help or talking to your family and the people around you, did you also take medical help for this problem? And would you recommend to seek medical help?
I didn't take any medical help.
Why was that?
So initially, the first time around, I didn't know. Like I said, I wasn't aware that there is help available and I should consider it.
Hmm.
But the second time around, when I was more equipped with the knowledge of postpartum depression, I think I just depended so much on my husband. And I didn't feel the need to take medical help because he was always there. And I told him without leaving any guesswork for him, I told him exactly what I need him to do. I would tell him that right now I need you to leave me alone. I don't want the baby. I don't want you. I just want a 15-minute break. I just want the room to myself. It was as simple as that. And sometimes that is all you need to just gather yourself. And, it stops you from getting overwhelmed with so much at hand. I remember the second time I had a C-section, it was painful and my breastfeeding journey was not as smooth as the first time. I had bleeding nipples and I thought that second time around would be better, but it wasn't. And of course I was aiming for a hypnobirth and I was rushed in for a C-section at the last minute. That had a huge impact on me emotionally. So all those things were adding up along with the fact that I was underslept and taking care of the baby. So I just completely took a lot of help from my husband, and I also included my 6-year-old daughter while taking care of the little one. I would just, I tried that if I keep everyone together and even if she can hand me over the diapers, I'm just making this into one family and I'm not feeling like I'm the only person doing everything. And that feeling of getting overwhelmed is not happening with me. That really helped.
Yeah. Do you think in India people still frown upon a woman voicing this to her husband, like, hey, you take the child now. I just can't right now. Is that something that you feel is, almost a taboo to say?
Yes, I think it is. I think it is. To a large extent, it is. And which is, I think it contributes a lot to the postpartum depression in India and to the fact that women don't recognize it. Because
Hmm.
I think a lot of times women are taught that this is your responsibility and you're supposed to deal with it. And the most common thing which women hear from their own mothers and mothers-in-law or close ones is that you're not the only one doing it. Everybody does it. So what's your problem?
Yeah.
Which is the worst.
Yeah. Everyone's gone through it. So you'll get over it too.
Yes, first of all, everybody handles it differently. Everybody's a different personality and a different individual. Some people handle it better than the others, but that is no reason for anybody to draw any comparison. And if somebody needs help, one should absolutely provide it. But yes, talking to your husband like this, I think it is difficult in India in a lot of ways, especially if the woman is not working. She's a homemaker and the husband's a working husband. Then it's somehow the dynamics of the relationship are such that, okay, you're supposed to take care of the house and I'm supposed to earn the bread.
Yeah.
And in our case, I think, firstly, I think we are a little more evolved, I feel. And because my husband and I, we've literally made our respective careers together. We started working at the same time. when we started dating, and we've gone through life and we've grown up in life together. So we understand each other a lot better. And we always take turns with the children, even now. And even at work, we take turns.
Yeah.
Now you're working now, I'll be at home, and I'm working now, you be at home.
Yeah, it's a great luxury in India, I think, when you can have this kind of relationship. I feel also co-parenting is something that is not really spoken about.
Yes.
Maybe that's a whole different episode.
Yes.
And of course, postpartum, postnatal depression. I personally, with my first child, had perinatal depression, which is it starts in your prenatal,
Oh.
which is during your pregnancy, and then kind of continues after you have the baby, postpartum, postnatal depression. Basically, you're depressed all the time.
So, I just want to add here that even if somebody decides to have a baby, okay,
Yeah.
and in India, you grow up, you become a certain age, you get independent, then you get married, then you have a child. It's pretty textbook like that.
Yeah.
But even though you have everything planned, I think you will never know what being a mother is till you are actually a mother.
Absolutely.
No matter how many books you read, no matter how many prenatal classes you join, you will not know what being a mother is until and unless you actually become a mother yourself. So, literally, I mean, it's one of the most important jobs. It's one of the most, you have to be really responsible to actually raise a human being with the correct morals. You don't want to teach anything wrong to them. You're shaping their whole personality in their formative years. And there's no course for you to join to learn that. And, you're literally learning on the job.
Yeah. And your parents just feel like, oh, yeah, everyone does it.
Yes.
But I think our generation has really opened their eyes to many, many issues and topics like postnatal depression.
Yes.
And I think with that, we are also a very self taught generation. And I guess the generations to come are just going to blow our minds the way they are so aware of things and the way they have such information always available on the internet. So that's really giving me hope that women, as well as men, get to know about postnatal, prenatal, and perinatal, and all the depressions you can have when you are having a child,
Yes.
because it is something you need to find a doctor. And I don't think there are enough doctors in India that could handle every woman that has a child, because in the end, everyone goes through their own experience and there is some depression involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being a first time mom and dad, I guess, is so shocking. And of course, that'll give you all these doubts and this guilt that you feel. And I guess the more we talk about it, and that's why I admire what you've done, so openly talk about it after having your second child and going through something again. It's really courageous because it's very vulnerable.
I actually want to add here that the reason why I couldn't share this the first time around is because it took time to become a mother. It's
Yes.
not just having the baby. I took time to become a mother. And the kind of courage that I received or developed after becoming a mother is what helped me share my experience in future. And for that reason, I feel postpartum depression was a part of me getting on that journey and emerging victorious and being able to have the courage to actually talk about it openly.
Yeah.
So it was a stepping stone for me.
Yeah. I guess this is what different generations have experienced. Like our parents may have just been told that this is normal too, and that's why they told us it's normal. And we just questioned it and then realized, like, I don't want to say that to my daughter. I want to have someone to help her because I would have actually liked some help.
Yes.
So, what was your relationship like with your baby when you were in this really dark space of postpartum depression?
Oh, that's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, were you able to bond? And like you said, the first baby you breastfed as well. And I remember I was so sad. Just that's the only word, really. Even though it's such a happy occasion, everyone's like so interested in your baby, and you're like, I love her, but I'm so scared. And I just don't know how to handle these feelings. And then you're breastfeeding for the first time, you have no idea what you're doing. And nobody can tell you because you have to experience it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's really hard to, I mean, you have this instant bond with your child, but also it's this tiny stranger that just came into your life and
Yes.
you're so in love with this little one. but also so scared. Well, that was my experience, but how was it for you?
So the first time around, I still distinctly remember that while I was pregnant, I had the most amazing pregnancy. I was very happy. I was glowing throughout. I barely put on any weight anywhere else. And, I looked gorgeous and everything.
Mm.
And I somehow kept feeling that I will get back to work once the baby is out. I will get back to work once the baby is out. Nobody told me that the real journey is going to begin once the baby comes out. So forget going
Yeah,
back to work.
that's
Yeah, you
right.
should work now. I stopped working the first month of pregnancy. I could have continued working till the eighth month at least.
Mm.
But I didn't know that. So that was like the biggest shock for me. And I still distinctly visually remember when my daughter was pulled out, I saw the doctor take her away, and my baby had her face turned towards me, and I saw these really big eyes. And
Oh.
I was in a lot of pain because I had just pushed her out, and I was thinking, who is this person who has just come out of my body? I had that very surreal feeling like the baby's out and now she's a person. She's not just somebody kicking inside my stomach who I could take with me everywhere I went. Now she's a separate person. It was a very strange, surreal feeling. Took me a few days to come to terms with the fact that this is the baby who was inside my stomach and now she's in my arms and now she's fully dependent on me and I have to take care of her physically. It was a big, big realization. And I think that was the beginning of my postpartum depression because I was expecting this magical world where baby will come out and then I'll go back to work. And what about the baby? I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So I think just while I was coming to terms with that fact, taking care of her, picking her up in my arms, I had never picked up a newborn baby in my arms before. I didn't know
Mm.
you're supposed to
Yeah.
support the neck, yeah, and how breastfeeding is supposed to hurt so much initially. All those things, while I learned, I think I bonded really well with her,
Yeah.
really well. And I remember the sixth day when I took her for an actual bath, not a sponge bath. I actually took her and put her in the tub. Every moment I remember distinctly, it was amazing. But the
Mm.
second time, I think maybe it had something to do with my son being a C-section baby.
Mm.
That whole experience of pushing him out was missed by me and him both. And suddenly he was pulled out of my stomach and that was a very different kind of a feeling. I kept feeling when I would try to breastfeed him, I would just feel, who is this person? I have a fourth person in my life. He's part of my family. He's going
Mm-hmm.
to be part of my life for the rest of my life. Who is he? How is he going to be? How is he going to turn out to be? Is he going to be loving, affectionate? Is he going to throw tantrums? Is he going to give us grief when he grows up? And all those kind of thoughts were coming into my mind. But I think the best bond, which for me at least, the best bond which happened with my babies was the breastfeeding. So both of them, when they breastfed, I think that's the time I was the happiest, and I was not getting these negative thoughts at that time. I think for that reason also, probably doctors say breastfeeding is important for your mental state of mind as well, because it really did make
Mm.
a lot of difference to me. I would get very happy thoughts when I saw them breastfeeding, and it was a magical feeling, at that time.
Mm. Between you and me. For me, it was actually the opposite. I was really happy when baby was taking the bottle because I felt like I knew how much she's taking. And when she was breastfeeding, she was just so comfy. She would always fall asleep. And I would
Yeah.
just feel like a total failure that, like, I'm not able to feed my child. And so I would rather give her the bottle again. But yeah, everyone's journey, is so interesting. I always think that we're such an evolved species. And in the end, technically we're an animal for many reasons. And if you look at the other animals, they just pop out a child, lick it clean, and on we go.
Yeah.
While the human is able to overthink everything to the littlest detail. I don't think a horse ever asked itself whether it's feeding the child enough. It's just, I think we overthink.
We overthink for sure. And we overthink not just for ourselves, we overthink for others.
Yeah.
And that's where the judgment comes in. And I think at some point, a mother has to completely stop worrying about what others are thinking. And as a human being, like you rightly said, we are all animals. The first instinct should always be to be happy yourself. Love your neighbor like thyself, right? So you love your neighbor is second, you love yourself is first. So
Yeah.
we always forget to do that.
Yeah.
And there is no shame in admitting that you need time, you need space, you need some me time, and you need some, self-love and attention. There's absolutely no shame in admitting that. There's absolutely no shame in sharing that with somebody if you need to. And there's absolutely no shame in doing what you need to do to be happy and to tell yourself that you love yourself.
Absolutely. And I think, people talking about their journeys and making things normal to talk about really allows you to accept yourself. So, us having this chat today, I hope that somebody will hear it and say, hey, even I'm going through something and it's normal. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, in every episode of Love Matters, our team puts together some statistics about today's topic. Let's look what some facts and figures are when it comes to postpartum depression.
Love matters.
Postpartum depression, or PPD, is a dangerous mental health condition which can put affected new mothers at risk. Postpartum depression is a problem around the globe. An estimated 1 in 7 women can develop some form of it. But according to the World Health Organization, in India the figure is closer to 1 in 5.
I guess, in my opinion, it would be 1 in 1. I think pretty much every mom is going through something when they, receive a child. And I think probably even dads, which we don't talk
Yes,
enough
which
about.
we don't talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. But that's for the men to solve. So I'm sure they can find the daddy groups. My husband, he takes our baby in the mornings to get coffee, well, for him. And then they go to the park. And it's so funny because at the park, all the dads are there with their coffees and their kids. And the moms are having a sleep in. And then they chat, I think it's perfect. But yeah, no, it's really good to talk about this today. And I'd like to know, what are some of the lessons that you have learned through this experience?
Like I said, the biggest lesson that I've learned is that you need to prioritize your own happiness. Because if you're not a happy person yourself, chances are you will be a sulking mom to your kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're happy, you're satisfied, you're at ease, at comfort with yourself, you'll be able to be more patient with your children and you'll be able to generally be a happy person in life. And that's the first lesson. And the second lesson is it's okay to lose it sometimes. Everybody loses it at some
Mm-hmm.
time or the other. So don't hold yourself responsible for that meltdown. It's okay to ask for help. You need help, you reach out and you do what you have to do to feel better. These are the two things.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your husband a little bit. I'm really happy that you have a husband that supported you, as you said, and tried to understand what you're going through. I hope for everybody to have a husband like that. But how could you gently make your husband maybe understand what you're going through? What are some good things that you said to him, which he clearly understood?
I think just the fact that, okay, it's time for me to wake up for a feed, it was always a sign to him that it is time for us to wake up for a feed. It was never me.
Hmm.
Okay, and the night feeds, he could see that they really stressed me out a lot.
Hmm.
Because in any case, I think I'm a very terrible sleeper. Once I wake up, it's very hard for me to go back to sleep. And ever since my second child, I think it's almost going to be 4 years now. I don't remember one night that I've slept peacefully throughout the night because he still wakes up in the night and I go to attend to him and all of that. But if I would just tell him that I want the diaper, I want the wet wipes and everything, I want the whole changing routine for him and everything, he would not just get that. He would ask me if I'm hungry because I always felt really hungry when I breastfed, even in the nights. With every feed, I used to eat something. He would
Hmm.
make that for me and get it. And he would stay awake with me till I fed the baby. So it was never like, okay, she's feeding the baby, so let me sleep. It was always both of us woke up to feed the baby, and then both of us slept when the baby slept. It was always like that. And I think that kind of bond, it just makes you feel like you're not doing this alone. You're never doing this alone. So this thing was not there the first time around. The first time he was working, like nonstop, he was working, and I would tell him, no, you go to sleep because you have to go to work tomorrow. So I
Hmm.
would do it alone. And then a lot of times I would change the baby alone as well. And I would try my best not to disturb him. I think it really added to a lot of my stress and added a lot to my postpartum depression because I started feeling it's not a matter of one night. It went on for months till she started sleeping through the night. And I felt like I'm doing all of this alone. There were some nights when he would wake up to burp the baby, you know.
Yeah.
So the second time he understood that because of experiences that we had the first time around and the
Yeah.
conversations that we had the first time around, he understood that okay, this time it has to be different. Also, this time we were also business partners, so we had the same office, we had the same work, so we could take turns there as well. And we could actually, in the true sense of the word, start co parenting this second baby. And
Mm.
that really, really helped. And I'm saying that even though I have a very supportive husband who was there with me every minute of the journey, I still had my meltdown moments
Of
because
course.
ultimately I'm the one who's breastfeeding, I'm the one who's going through the pain, I'm the one who's actually had the baby and the c-section pain and everything, I also got a fracture, a foot fracture at that time to add to my misery. I couldn't
Oh.
walk and
Oh.
we couldn't do an x-ray because I was like on the last leg of my pregnancy.
Yeah.
We didn't even know that it's a fracture. I just kept limping away to glory.
Oh
So
my.
there was lots going on,
Yeah.
and he was very, very supportive of that. But even then, I'm saying that those meltdowns did happen. So it's not. Once again, I want to say that postpartum depression is not. It doesn't have to be justified. You
Yeah.
cannot justify that. Oh, she has a great life. Why is she depressed? It doesn't work like that. You are
No.
either depressed or not. In any kind of depression, for that matter, if you try to justify it, you've just completely defeated the whole purpose of the conversation.
Yes. And I think it's a bit funny because all around the world, but of course also in India, people say that, your husband's at work, so you do your job, which is being the mother. But the truth is, you're not just the mother, you're also the wife, and you're also the lover and the caretaker and the psychiatrist of your husband and your entire family, the doctor. You have a lot of jobs over here. And also, you have traded your 9 to 5 for a 24/7 job. So I think it's not at all justified to say that your husband works in the day, so you have to do 24/7. No, I think it's just fair if your husband, who also wanted to have children, also now has a 24/7 job, which is his family.
Yes.
And like you said, nobody prepared you for it. And it's terrifying when you have your first day of work. But I would really like to tell people, and I'm sure you can agree with me on that, in that moment when you have that first week of, your baby and you have these sleepless nights and it lasts for a month and then the second month and you haven't slept still and you still don't know what you're doing and if you're dressing the baby right for the weather and you just don't know what's happening and you really think this is never going to end. I think that was one of the worst things for me. I really thought this is going to last forever and this is my life now. And I don't know how to handle it when I was so independent and so
Yes.
in charge of my life before that. But hey, I really want people to know it doesn't last. The newborn phase, that scary phase of the baby not being able to do anything on their own, it just lasts for 6 months. And suddenly that baby is a whole different person. Sometimes, even after 4 months, the baby is a lot more independent. But look at this baby now. My daughter is right now 16 months, so just over a year old. And she walks, she tries to talk, she eats everything. She's amazing. She's a complete human. Sometimes I wish she had come out this ready. But on the other hand, looking back, it was so adorable. She was so little. And now looking back, I don't have these terrified thoughts anymore. How did you feel when your baby came out of this really vulnerable state and, maybe say the 6 months or the 1 year mark?
So I feel that with every milestone that they cross, there is a new phase that begins in their lives. and in the parents' lives as well. And every phase has its own ups and downs. There is beauty to every phase, and there are also some new difficulties that you face with every phase. My daughter is now 10 years old, and my son is going to be 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Life is amazing with both of them, and I think as they grow older, as they grow up, the difficulties with each phase start reducing, and the fun that you have with them at every age group keeps increasing. I'm having so much fun with my 4-year-old right now. I cannot even begin to tell you how much fun he is, the kind of games he plays. He has a sense of humor, the jokes he cracks, and the words he mispronounces, and he has full
Aww.
convoluted English. He will speak incorrect grammar. It is the cutest, but he will find some way to express himself, and he will find some way to convince us to do what he wants us to do. That is such a cute phase. With my 10-year-old, there's a different phase where she's, the onset of puberty is going to be soon, and she has, peer pressure. She has different problems, but she's so independent that she knows what she wants. So once you have a baby, although as a mother you do feel that this is your life now and it's never going to end. But I want to say that as a mother, you include your children into your routine and
Mm.
don't keep succumbing to their routine. Everything is great because till the time they're not adults, you have total control and you can absolutely mold them as per your likes and dislikes. You like to go to a Chinese restaurant to eat, the kids will go with you. Don't force yourself always to go and eat the pizza with them. So
Yeah.
you take turns and you become a family like that. That's how you grow. So for me, that is the beauty of being a mother, once you understand all these things.
Lovely. That's really true. And one last question for you. How do you keep your relationship strong and alive? I know your husband also supported you through another very difficult phase of your life when you suffered from breast cancer. So how did you guys stay romantic and stay strong as a couple?
So I'll tell you a very simple answer to that.
Yeah.
He does whatever I tell him to do. That's it.
Oh, happy wife, happy life.
Yes, absolutely. So I think we're going to complete 18 years next month,
Wow.
and we're very very happy together. And the good thing is that initially when we started out, we were very young and we were very possessive about each other, and we were pretty much almost intrusive in each other's lives. But we've grown up together. We've
Mm.
learned how to coexist without coming in each other's space. So that kind of evolution is important in any relationship, and I think that is the reason why we are so happy together. Otherwise, people like us, a couple like us, who's working together, living together, we are literally 24/7 together. We go to office together, we come back home together. There's no respite from each other, if you come to think of it. But we respect each other's space a lot, and when there's an argument, we respect that we can have different points of view. We don't try to convince each other about our own points of view. Okay, you believe in that, I believe in that, you do you, I do me, is a very, very important thing that we focus on in our relationship. So, and we have very fundamental differences on a day to day
Yeah.
basis. Like we like different foods. So the lunch menu, dinner menu, which is being cooked at home is different. I follow a different diet. He follows a different diet. He likes football. I like weight training. I like to go swimming. I like to watch movies. The movies that we like to watch, he watches different kinds of cinema. I enjoy different kind of cinema. I sleep at 8:30, he sleeps at 12 o'clock in the night. We are
Hmm.
very different like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we always respect each other's space, and we always make sure that we don't force our own opinions on the other person. And when we spend time with each other, we laugh a lot. So I think
Mm.
that's the most important.
Beautiful. Staying true to yourself and staying true to each other
Yes.
and staying true to the commitment you have made
Yeah.
towards each other, especially when life throws a curveball at you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and this amazing, honest talk. Chhavi, that was really, really inspiring.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that our audience, our listeners, are going to feel very encouraged by you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn.
Yeah, I wish you and your family all the love, health, and happiness in the world. And you've been listening to Love Matters, a podcast about relationship topics that matter to you and me from Indian Express and DW, Germany's international broadcaster. If you think there's something we should talk about, please write to us at lovematters@dw.com. And don't forget to share our podcast with your friends. I'm Evelyn Sharma, and I think love matters.
Love matters. Love matters. Love